been a series of incidents, for want of a better word, incidents where we've had journalists being picked up by the police. And also just yesterday, I think Oliver Barker-Vormawor, he's not a journalist, so to say, but he was picked up for something he put on his Facebook page. The police have also issued a statement on that he's going to be put before court on Monday. But we had the Greater Accra Police Command arrest Kwabena Bobiansa of Accra FM in connection with an alleged case of publication of false news and offensive conduct. And the police explained that Mr. Ansa's arrest became necessary after he turned down several invitations to him and others to assist with investigations. Then we also had the incident with Power FM's Oheneba Boama Beni, who was incarcerated for 2 weeks and fined 3,000 cedis for contempt of court in a case in which he allegedly made false claims against the president and the Justice of the Supreme Court in relation to the 2020 election petition. Then we also had Asepa's Mensa Thompson, who he was granted bail in the sum of 50,000 cedis after he was arrested and charged for allegedly publishing false news against the president and the Ghana Armed Forces, although he had apologized for the claim. So I'll be bringing in Martin Kpebu as well as Muhib Saeed. He's a Senior Programs Officer, Freedom of Expression Program, Media Foundation for West Africa, and then Professor Kwame Kakari. He's the founder of the Media Foundation for West Africa, but these days he's a retired communications consultant. He will also join us on this conversation. We'll take a quick, insert on the Bobiansa situation, and then when we return, former President John Dramani Mahama has also waded into this conversation. He has sent a letter to the current president on the arrest of journalists. We'll try and make some sense of that as well. So let's listen quickly to the inserts, and then when we return, we will begin the discussion.
Whilst the case is ongoing in the Kaneshie District Court, we have scores of people here at the car park who are here actually to support him. We will try and speak to some of them.
I'm here basically to show solidarity towards our brother Bobiansa and to the entire media fraternity, because we see this act as something that is against, freedom of speech, that is against the media, that is against journalism, that is against every citizen of this country who hopes to have a voice and also hopes to have his or her voice heard. If we think that anybody has said anything against any individual, the belief and the law is that you process the person, you go to court, you ask that the judge intervenes. If whatever civil procedures are in place, you activate those procedures. That is our expectation. We don't expect that you criminalize speech or freedom of speech in this country. It is archaic, it is so out of place.
Your point and me family me die. I did hear me so me call social media musa. Trend say Achibobiansa. I'm say Achibobiansa. It's me friend guy be work as say Farouk what is say Achibobi was saying I also what I'm saying there say more striking force. It's me call and I'm sorry biare buy me buy so ampa. Ya che no ya bedi na chi anyame adom ye gya no. Be ne me ka che ne say ya money bill. Sorry, ya money bill. The ya ka che ne say me money hwe na chi. I
have worked with Bobie. I mean, if you remember when Asempa started, I was together with Bobie, and that's why I'm surprised. John Boadu should remember that. Samuel Oku should remember that. We're on that platform when Bobie came to Accra to settle. And so, one, if not for freedom of the press, like people like you, he has been a personal friend. But again,
So that was just a short clip from what has transpired this week. And just to add to that, the former president, John Dramani Mahama, wrote a letter to the sitting president. I'll just run through that quickly, and then lawyer Martin Kpebu has taken his seat. Kpebu, good morning.
Yeah,
Thank
morning.
And Muhib Saeed, he's run away from the business we were engaged in these days. He says he's Freedom of Express. He's running the Freedom of Expression program at the Media Foundation for West Africa. but House of Hope knows what they need. But the former president's letter says that, Dear President Nana Akufo-Addo, I'm appalled at the growing criminalization of speech and journalism in Ghana under your watch in this 21st century. An investigative journalist was murdered under very troubling circumstances, yet while the Ghanaian people and the international community have demanded justice, government's inability or unwillingness to act is obvious to all. The police have virtually shelved the investigations into this brutal murder. There have also been several disturbing incidents of harassment of journalists in the line of duty. We have witnessed media establishments close down on your instructions despite many appeals to you. Now, in the space of less than 2 weeks, 4 people have suffered police action criminalizing their right to free speech. As Attorney General at the time, who led the repeal of the criminal libel law in order that citizens could freely express their views, it is unconscionable to be suppressing the rights and criminalizing the speech of citizens and journalists. It is even more worrying when the power of the state is used as a pliant tool in this intimidating endeavor. Radio and TV presenter Captain Smart was dragged from court, and although he had been granted bail, sent into detention. Another radio presenter, Heniba Boama Beni, has been incarcerated for statements he allegedly made. A civil society activist was arrested, detained, and sent to court on criminal charges, granted bail, and yet detained again for making a statement against you, President Akufo-Addo, as if to suggest insincerity behind the serious discrimination of speech, decriminalization of speech that you led. Another radio presenter, Bobi Ansah, has been arrested, detained, and charged, criminalized for speaking and making allegations against your wife. Again, last week, security personnel linked to your party brutalized a radio presenter and producer in the city of Takoradi. Such lawless attacks have today become common occurrences in our country. President Akufo-Addo, you continue to oppress the people, criminalize speech when these matters are essentially civil in nature, if you feel offended by them. It is even more sad that the Journalists Association and its senior members, many of our clergy and other moral leaders, scared because of the oppressive and dictatorial regime you are running, have remained quiet in the face of this disturbing development in our maturing democracy. This is a dangerous blueprint you are fashioning for our dear nation, and it must not be encouraged. Your actions as president have totally discredited your self-acquired accolade as a human rights lawyer and activist. Ghana has long emerged from the unfortunate past where journalists were cowed by incarceration and brutalization. I fear that if you do not take immediate action to arrest this unfortunate trend, when you exit the office of president in January 2025, freedom of speech and the free media will certainly not be counted as part of the legacy you have left behind. Signed, your brother, John Dramani Mahama. But some really strong words in this letter. And there are those who might say, does it actually reflect these incidents, Suhini? Where do we draw the line between the reckless chatter on air or what we post on our social media channels and the actual right to practice as a journalist? There are those who say some of these incidents do not qualify for what one might say is a fight against free speech.
Well, Godfred, maybe I should start this discussion quoting the president.
Oh, okay.
This was something he said before he became president and repeated only about 2 years ago when he became president. So I'll choose the one he repeated in my quotation.
Okay.
Quote, I will say again that I much prefer the noisy, boisterous, sometimes querulous media of today to the monotonous, praise-singing, sycophantic one of yesteryears, unquote.
That was the World Media Freedom Day also.
He actually said it before he was elected, and that is why he was having to say again. So for emphasis, let me quote it again. It answers your question about whether it is noise chatter or whatever
does it answer
chatter.
the question?
It says, I will say again that I much prefer the noisy, boisterous, sometimes querulous media of today to the monotonous, praise-singing, sycophantic one of yesteryear, quote and unquote. So when you juxtapose this against all the developments that we are witnessing under him as president, you wonder if this was just like the many things that he has said to us that he honestly didn't seem to mean.
Really?
But just said them because they sounded right, but had no commitment whatsoever to them. let me state up front, Godfred, having worked in the media over the years, that I am all for responsible free speech. I'm all for it. But let's be mindful that no nation under the earth has ever achieved responsible free speech using the coercive forces of state. It is unsustainable. It always backfires on the state. No nation has achieved free, responsible speech using state agencies like the police and the military. No nation has been successful at it. In the end, it pops. In the end, it pops. And that is why the government has to be very, very careful. It is indeed a shame that the president claims pride in his role, either as opposition member of parliament or as attorney general, in the repeal of the criminal libel law. And today, having to supervise a backdoor, introduction of the criminal libel law. And that is what President Mahama is speaking to. Some of the cases, even if they are infractions, the remedies are clearly provided in our laws. Civil action is permitted. Civil action is permitted. The National Media Commission is there to address any irresponsible speech that falls within their domain. So it's not as if we do not have, and you see, at the time that we repealed the criminal libel law, when he was Attorney General, it's not as if people were so responsible in their publications. Do you recall the case involving Haruna Atta and Kweku Bako on the criminal libel law? What was the publication about? Was that above board? Was that a defense? I mean, is it? In fact, I've heard Kweku Bako say before that some of those publications they are not proud of. But it did not justify the existence of the criminal libel law. It still had to be repealed. I recall the case involved the wife of the former president then, Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings. Yeah, it was Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings. The criminal libel law case involving Haruna Atta, it was Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings. And we said, what the heck? If she wanted, she could resort to civic action. And Nana Akufo-Addo was at the forefront. Isn't it ironic and shameful that today a state agency is prosecuting someone for writing something about his family and his wife?
So I want to understand this. You have a problem with him filing a complaint with the police?
No.
Is that not what he did?
I'm saying that who filed the complaint?
That's the thing.
There was no complaint filed.
They say reports are that, so there's no.
There was no complaint filed. Who is the complainant? We don't know the complainant in this case.
So it's basically the police who are taking it upon themselves.
So I am saying that it is a dent on his record. And the earlier he woke up to the reality, the better for his image and the better for the peace of this country. Look, under his watch, we have had over 100 radio stations shut down. Authorities may say as a result of, regulatory breaches. But others with very good reason have also clearly shown that it was politically motivated and targeted at critical government media.
Yeah.
You can't run away from that fact also. You have had Ahmed Swale gunned down on the street after he and his team had done a documentary exposing corruption in Ghana football, and his identity compromised by a leading member of the New Patriotic Party, a member of parliament. And as we speak, we are yet to find the perpetrators of that. You remember Edward Adeti? Where he revealed corruption at the AG office in the Upper East region, involving, the regional ministers, judge, and some Chinese mining company. In the end, what happened to him? The regional minister got sacked, and brought to the Flagstaff House. But Adeti's life till today remains in danger. You just catalogued a number of people who recently have had brushes with, agencies of state as a result of their publications. In the case of Mensa Thompson, it's even so ridiculous.
Why?
That he publishes something, he retracts, he apologizes, yet he still faces sanctions. What happens to rejoinder? The purpose of rejoinder. What happens to the purpose of rejoinder? So, if you watch that, Godfred, if you watch that, to become a president, unchallenged, tomorrow on your show, the morning show where you speak your mind a lot, when you say something and it is wrong and you come back to apologize and retract, it doesn't insulate you. A state agency will still take you on. If you don't challenge this and let it become a precedent, you can't cry foul tomorrow when the same standard is applied to you. That is the dangerous route that we are taking with this. But you see, maybe in wrapping up, I'm not surprised. I'm only disturbed that this is putting all of us at risk. Michelle Obama said that the presidency doesn't change people. It reveals who they are. It reveals who they are. President Akufo-Addo, as leader of the New Patriotic Party, chased every dissenting opinion out of that party. We spoke about it, but it was considered political talk. When he has the chance to lead Ghana, why do you expect better? As leading member of the New Patriotic Party, he chased every dissenting view out of that party, including the party chairman, the party general secretary. He chased all of them out, regional executives. So I am not surprised. I'm only disturbed. And when he told us to be citizens and not spectators, what he didn't say was that we can be citizens all we care. He will treat us as spectators.
I get the point you're making, Suhuyini, but I still haven't heard you make reference to responsible practice.
I have said upfront.
There has to certainly be a line.
I have said upfront, Godfred, that I support responsible free speech. That is the way to go. But I have also said that no nation has ever achieved that using the coercive powers of state.
Okay.
And that is why I have even alluded to the provisions in our law where civil action is allowed when irresponsible speech affects you.
Okay, hold on for me.
When irresponsible speech publication affects you, you have the option of going to the National Media Commission. Those are the persuasive, powers of state that we have used in the Fourth Republic to build our media institutions. It's only a dictator who resort to the use of coercive force. And like I said, it has never worked anywhere in the world. Remember the Arab Spring? The gentleman who bent himself may not have been right. And I'm here referring to Oliver. Oliver doesn't have to be right, but let the state make one misstep. You'll be surprised at the reaction that you'll get. The gentleman who bent himself alive during the Arab Spring may not have been right about the reasons why he was doing that. But once that fed into a certain narrative, and you see, Godfred, maybe finally, ever since the resurgence of coups on the continent, I have heard a lot of discussions on media platforms and outside media platforms dangerously contrasting military regimes with democratic regimes. It's dangerous. It's a dangerous discussion, but I've heard it. One argument, Godfrey, that stands out undefeated yet, when it comes to preference for democracy, is that you have the right to criticize leadership without fear of recrimination when it is a democracy. That argument stands undefeated, unchallenged by those who project whatever good comes out of military regimes. And that is why we have to be mindful as a country that we do not take that argument away. Okay. Because once we begin to make the people feel that that very useful, strong argument is no longer the case in our democracy will have no leg to stand on. And we can only blame ourselves for, inviting that upon ourselves.
Let me deal with the legal side of this. And Martin Kpebu is a private legal practitioner, deals with a lot of cases in this realm. Like we were looking at the series of cases I've outlined. Okay, I have Professor Kwame Kakari, so let me just talk to Professor Kakari.
No problem.
I'll come to you. Professor Kakari, good morning. Thank you for joining us on the Big Issue.
Good morning.
Yes, let me not take too much of your time. What do you make of these recent incidents and the position taken by some that perhaps we are seeing an overexertion of the state power on the practice of the media? And there are those who also hold the position that perhaps the media should focus more on using their platforms for productive and well-backed allegations rather than as platforms for sullying reputations. What is your take on all this?
Well, first of all, your introductory statements indicate that what we are dealing with is a very complex issue with many different aspects to the issue. But let me just say that whenever the police intervene in matters concerning speech, press freedom, and so on, there are always tendencies that could be quite dangerous for free speech. That is why even our own constitution attempts to insulate the executive from the media, for instance. And that is why press freedom organizations have been fighting so that certain legislation on our books are either reformed or expunged. There are many, as I said, there are many aspects of the issue. The police arresting journalists, arresting people, expressing certain things on media like Facebook and so on, is problematic. However, whenever a law exists, you can expect the government or its agencies to use it. And the police are using a law that exists. You can't blame them for enforcing or attempting to use a law that exists. And as I said, I wish there was more time. I'm in a funeral, and I just got out to make these very first remarks. It's a very complex issue, and if we want to talk about it, there are so many aspects of it. For instance, the Media Foundation for West Africa attempted to organize a meeting to begin to deliberate on what to do with this legislation called publishing false news and so on. People like Akoto Ampao were a part of this initiative. But I can tell you that KIPA was not interested. The Ghana Journalists Association was not interested in the forum that we were trying to organize. So as I said, there are so many aspects of it, and it is important that these developments are discussed dispassionately, because there are aspects of it that also border on professionalism and questions of accountability of the media. So that's why I'm saying that it's a complex issue. But fundamentally, as I said from the beginning, whenever the police intervene in matters of speech, it's problematic and could have tendencies that may not be that good for free speech and democracy. That's what I can say right now.
I have heard some say there are options available, and so perhaps the police could have waited for the affected persons in this regard to use the avenues that are available rather than taking this upon themselves and creating the visage, so to say, of what we are seeing now and the impression that is being created. Is it not also a fine line between simply enforcing the law and then just waiting for an affected citizen to take action?
Well, you see, there are a number of instruments and mechanisms that citizens who are aggrieved by what the media do to use. A sad fact is that many people in important positions of authority and so on have consistently refused to use, let's say, the National Media Commission, for instance, for resolution of their grievances. That is one. If people feel defamed, they can go to court. That's another one. But if the police have the power to use a law, whose responsibility is it in some of these matters to seek redress? Is it the police or the citizens who are so affected or who feel so aggrieved? The police, as I said, if there is a law, well, they have a discretion of using it or not using it. When they use it, as I said, if it is not in the interest of free speech in the long run, who is to blame? The law is there. Why is the law still there? Why have we, who feel that the law could catch up with us, not done anything about it in this Fourth Republic? So as far as the police is concerned, I certainly cannot talk for them, but as a citizen, I'll say that if the law is there, or if they have many opportunities and they choose one, and it is legitimate for them to use it, who can blame them?
All right, then. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Professor Kwame Kakari. He's a retired communications consultant, but also the founder of the Media Foundation for West Africa.
If I could just make a point on the law and who is to blame. You see, if the law is still in our books, then the executive is to blame, because it is for the executive to determine which laws, are kept or introduced. So
but doesn't there have to be a strong lobby for some of these things?
Yeah, so but sometimes, that is the policy-making process, or the law-making process also allows, agenda setting.
So let me give you
the collection.
Deal with that matter.
You see, no, the point is that it is unfair to just say that I should deal with that matter, because the Attorney General, first of all, is seized with, the power to convince the cabinet, so to speak, and the entire government to either repeal a law or to introduce one. So once the Attorney General thinks that law should not be in our books, like the President did when he was Attorney General and repealed the criminal libel law with the help of the President, it always takes the executive to initiate such laws because of the nature of our Constitution.
Okay.
The laws come from them. It is only recently that we have started experimenting with private members, bill. Even that, we are still having problems with it.
I get you. Let me come to Lawyer Kweku. So, on these cases that we have heard, let's deal with a bit of specifics. Is there a legal basis for some of looking at this?
Okay,
the choice to arrest.
It
before court.
It raises a lot of hard questions. Okay, yes, I think the use of arrest, especially in Oliver's case, is premature. You see, Bobie, at least the police, we can go by the police statement alone, They said they gave him several invitations, though we've not heard Bobie's side. So Oliver's own, especially Oliver's own, is even far more fetched. You see, it's far-fetched. If this e-levy is passed, I'll do the coup myself. Conditional sentence, the context. He's just doing advocacy for the profligacy. What we are running away from is the profligacy of the government. So then the police go and arrest and say they are investigating a coup. No, deal with the profligacy. These are red herrings. Oliver, what do? The man is coming to the country. You survey him. You do surveillance, covert surveillance. And then if you need him openly, like for those who like this arresting, yes, give him an invitation, put it out there in the media. When he comes, like, I think we should use some finesse. You see, earlier on, Professor Kerry was talking about once the law is in the books. Oh, so because in the law there is power to arrest anyhow, anybody says anything, we arrest him. Then very soon, the cells will be full. All of us will go in. There will be no space. That's not how you arrest. You see, it's a discretion. So you look at the citizen. Who is he? Who is that citizen?
What's his capacity?
Exactly.
Do
exactly.
Profiling.
And you see, so far, Oliver has such a high public profile. Yes. So you give him an invitation. Engage. If Oliver were to turn down an invitation to come to the police station, then we'll also begin to think, oh, you mean you will not cooperate with state institutions? But you don't give him that chance. You just whisk him and look at the, obvious mistake the police are making. Please, it doesn't lie within the power of the police to take him to court on Monday. It's Sunday. The Supreme Court says 48 hours is 48 hours. So the police should check their law well. They have power to keep him for only 48 hours. Anything, it's not even, it says bring him to court within. It's not that wait till the expiration of the 48 hours and then you initiate steps. No. If you don't want to grant him bail, bring him before a judge within 48 hours so that he can make an application for bail. Please, the police, they have lawyers. I know they are lawyers. They should talk to their lawyers. It's not Monday. If they apply to the registers of the court, a judge will sit tomorrow. The Chief Justice last year already gave a circular. You see, the context of it is that I took a case to the Supreme Court sometime in 2017. Then in 2019, December 2019, the Supreme Court gave a unanimous decision that 48 hours is 48 hours. So Saturday, Sunday, public holiday, the court sit. And I've been to court at least 4 or 5 times on Saturdays. Okay? Saturdays you go, electricity, people who owe electricity, people who owe SNET, they do Saturday court. The same for Sunday. The last public holiday, 7th January, we were in court to do a bail application. It was granted. So please, let's use the law. If the police are saying they've exercised their discretion to arrest, which I have my gravest doubts about, the police should also apply the next law, which is Article 14.3. The Supreme Court says if you arrest him, bring him to court within 48 hours. You cannot pick and choose. The police have no power to hold Oliver till Monday. That would be a gross violation of the Constitution. Yes, gross violation. Let's read Article 14.3. Okay. It says, a person who is arrested, restricted, or detained A, for the purpose of bringing him before a court in the execution of an order of the court, or B, upon reasonable suspicion of his having committed or being about to commit a criminal offense under the laws of Ghana, and who is not released, shall be brought before a court within 48 hours after the arrest, restriction, or detention. That is it, 48 hours. And the Supreme Court has interpreted that, please, the courts provide services on Saturdays, Sundays, public holidays. So they should do the needful. Though we prefer that they grant him bail. That one, you see, the police will get part of their credibility restored because this arrest is making them very unpopular. You see, something you have to gauge. These things won't take the police far, especially a case that doesn't go far. You don't come in such a high-handed manner. It's a shame.
When you say a case that won't go far.
Very overbearing. This arrest is a very overbearing decision. Very overbearing. It looks, it lacks finesse. Oliver, cool. So when he was coming, what guns and what did he bring? When you do that, you make a mockery of the power of arrest. That's not how. It's a discretion. So before you do it, you see, you watch the context, everything. You know that, this gentleman says he wants to fix the country. let's have a constitutional, let's review our constitution, let's stop the profligacy and the rest. Listen, he has a loud mouth. Give him an invitation. If he fails, publish it. Then you see he himself, he will be hot. Oh, so Oliver, you can climb the high moral horse and you cannot honor police. You see, so you use it's tact. Meanwhile, in the meantime, the surveillance is ongoing. National security, yes, this is the real thing they should be doing, not getting involved in arresting Bobie and the rest. You see it? No. Then the surveillance is ongoing. I mean, it makes it looks, oh, no. It's overbearing, very, very high-handed. Yes, this arrest, no. Very soon, the power of arrest will just become so commonplace that, yeah, we're becoming a police state. We will talk, but that's the mistake they are making. Look, listen, the police can never arrest all the people. Look, somebody just sent me something. A woman saying she will do the coup d'etat herself. There's another one. Then they should go pick her. There's a video going, circulating. The woman said no, she doesn't even need the army to do any coup d'etat. She and her people will do it. So they should go and pick her too. It's becoming a mockery. We all want our security. Look, Godfrey, let's not hide it. Hey, I'm number one to be scared. We all want to live in a secure democracy. That's why we live here. That's why we don't live in any other country. It's a choice. Now you say we'll live home here. So when there are these things, don't make it look like rocket science. Hey, Gestapo style. We will show Rambo style. Come, arrest him. No. Just be refined. I think IGP needs to, he needs to have a sort of kitchen cabinet that also looks at the human rights aspect and our standing in the international community. You see, because of the places Oliver has worked and the rest, we are going to have all those people looking at us. He's worked with them. He didn't give them trouble and the rest. You see, you're looking at the UN and all those places. Okay, an employee there. Suddenly their eyes will be here. Oh, what's happening? We are losing marks.
Interesting perspective.
Yes, and that should be right. Listen, don't make it look like because it's security matter we can't talk. We are also applying the law. It's a discretion. Section 10 to 12 of the Act 30, the powers of arrest. But please, even in the police manual, the service instruction, you have to look at it. Is this a person who absconded? Is he absconding? And don't forget, look at the context. He was outside when he made the statement, right? And came in, flew in. You think if he thought he really was going to do a coup, he would fly in openly like this? Those are the things you do. So you use all those to analyze, and then you see that arrest is not the first option. Arrest is not. Maybe if you had seen him coming through some unapproved routes, you see, our borders are quite porous. That's a public, it's of public knowledge, right? Maybe if you had seen him sneaking through some unapproved, route, then you say, maybe he's coming in furtherance of his
agenda.
Azimi. But he comes through Kotoka, and you think arrest is the first thing. No, please, investigations don't always require arrest. That's a mistake. They don't always require that arrest. No, you look at each individual case and analyze it. Oliver's stature in this country, he deserves an invitation. Remember how police first got up, this Osu matter, hey, we will do this. You see how they suffered a lot of backlash and reputational damage. They should learn something from it. Please, Ghana is changed. Look, let me show you. At Champon's time, when this, Western Togoland matters and the rest. He said, please, look, he doesn't want these arrestings and incarcerating them. He was just giving us a bad name. So he said, no, don't make matters of them. Some of them, he stopped the prosecutions. Western Togoland, if you like, check under Achampon's regime.
Check for me once I do a quick commercial. When we return, then you can make that reference. The big issue, we'll be right back. Welcome back, looking at press freedoms on the big issue. Very interesting perspective. You heard Suhini's version. Lawyer Kwebu also looking at, as he's focused a bit more on the Oliver Barker-Vormawor situation. But then we come to Muhib Said, who's the Senior Programs Officer, Freedom of Expression Program at the Media Foundation for West Africa. I'm sure you would have looked more also at the situation with the journalists and what have been your thoughts before I even come in with any questions on the cases. If you want to look at it on a case-by-case basis, you can go ahead. But the engagement of the police in this regard.
Well, I think when you were reading of the number of cases of arrests and attacks on journalists, I was like, if you gave somebody 50 chances to guess which country these incidents are happening in Africa. I'm sure that the person could take about 20 chances without mentioning Ghana. He will probably think that they're talking about Uganda, Somalia, or any of those countries where press freedom is always repressed. Ghana is a poster country as far as press freedom and freedom of expression is concerned. We have a very high reputation out there as a country that is quite democratic and respects the rights of citizens to express their opinions. And therefore, as I said, whilst you were mentioning these cases, I felt that somebody outside there who had these things being linked to Ghana will be quite dismayed. And I think that it is important for our leaders to look at things in that context, because at the end of the day, the reputation of the country outside is also very important. Now, that is not to say that we should overlook cases of unprofessionalism by the media. The Media Foundation for West Africa, as you know, has been monitoring the media space for compliance with the professional standards and ethics. And we have what we call the media ethics monitoring. Last year we were able to do that, and we recorded 2,710 ethical violations in the media. And these violations were in the areas of infractions on good taste and public sensibilities, accuracy, prejudice and stereotyping, mixing of facts and opinions. And apart from that, we did the campaign language monitoring for the 2020 elections. And we were able to record a lot of issues of unprofessionalism on the part of media practitioners. In fact, we wrote to certain media organizations on which we had recorded too many issues, and Oheneba Buama, for example, was cited copiously in our reports. But we have laws in dealing with these infractions. First of all, we have the National Media Commission, which is supposed to be a buffer or a kind of referee between the executive and the executive, the public on one hand, and the media, so that if any member of the public or any member of the executive actually feels injured by whatever a journalist has written or said, it is important to refer this matter to the National Media Commission. It is not obligatory, but between using the brute force of the police and ending up attracting bad press for yourself and selling Ghana's name out there as a country that is intolerant of press freedom, and then using the softer approach of reporting such infractions to the National Media Commission, I think that the latter it's a far better approach. We cannot say that the media in Ghana has suddenly become unbearable. Whatever inadequacies and deficits that we are seeing today at least have been with us throughout the Fourth Republic. And when there is no provocation, there is no test of a leader's character and level of tolerance. So if we just cite the infractions and the provocations, we will not be doing justice to ourselves. It is when there is provocation, when there is a test of your patience, and you are able to bear it and also handle it in a manner that does not lead to abuses. That is where you prove that you are tolerant. If the media in any country is 100% compliant, there is no troublesome media, and there are no outspoken citizens that are too critical, then the most horrible dictator will still look like an angel because he would have no troubles to deal with. So to me, it is important for the government to, have recourse to the less confrontational mechanisms for dealing with these kind of infractions.
And it's
Now,
interesting that most of these cases, or at least in 3 out of the 4, basically are allegations that the publishing the false news law, these are things that went against the president directly,
that is
or
it.
his family.
Yeah. So the fact that the publications that are being complained of mostly are about the president and his family it also makes it quite uncomfortable, believing that the police are actually acting independently and without any overbearing influence on them. I was mentioning Oheneba Boama. He was arrested on the 14th.
Who has been cited?
Yes, for contempt. He was arrested on the 14th and detained for 2 days. And the police statement on that arrest was to the effect that he had published false news and threatened the
false news against the president and the Justice of the Supreme Court.
Yes. And threatened the president. And I think that the Attorney General felt that was a little blatant, because if we are going to go criminal for defamation against the president or insult,
it's not a crime.
Yes,
the president
that is
not
it.
A crime.
Yeah, so he now filed for contempt of court. And it is on the basis of the contempt of court that he has been jailed. If we look at that of Mensa Thompson, he's not a journalist, but we work to promote freedom of expression and not just press freedom. He's written something that on the face of it was quite reckless. It was such an important and sensitive publication that he needed to be very sure that what he was putting out was right. Nonetheless, having been, confronted by the military authorities who said what he has written was false through a press statement, he retracted and apologized. Now, after the retraction and apology, the only other legal recourse would be civil for defamation. And yet, he had to be arrested and detained. Meanwhile, the trend globally is towards discouraging custodial sentences and imprisonment and detention for speech offenses. So I think that, yes, we have issues with professionalism within the media, but the disease of unprofessionalism in the media is being cured with a medicine that is not only expired but also illicit.
I like that.
Interesting.
So the cure is worse than the disease, like the Americans would put it. Yes.
Interesting analogy there from Muhib Said. He's the Senior Program Officer, Freedom of Expression at the Media Foundation for Escape. Hello, Kupa, have you found what you were looking for?
So you see
and this matter of the publishing the false news law.
Yes. So I'll just refer to the, what do you call it, the publication, General Champon. So when you're talking about this Western Togoland, you see how now we are prosecuting all that. No, when the case say General Champon tried to use diplomacy through dialogues. Yes, even though he failed, but that is the effort. And what did he do when he failed? He said, hence he formed Operation Checkpoint to break the front of the agitators, that's the Western Togoland people. He involved Information Service Department, who sent mobile cinema vans to convince the others not to break from Ghana, since there was peace in Ghana. He engaged the chiefs and pressmen on the subject. Radios were distributed in some parts of the country for free. You see it? Yeah. So faced with adversity, when Western Togoland, and in those days it was even more, it was more intense, hotter, more violent than we see today. Yet, that is what he did. He used diplomacy. And so why should we come, how many years on, more than 40 years on, any small thing, hey, arrest. Please, arrest. It's not popular amongst us. It's investigations. And you don't always need an arrest to investigate. No. You see, I think somehow, because, and you see, citizens, let's rise up. You see, when you've not been involved with the police, you think anything that anybody says, oh, the police should invite him. Yes, ask for invitation, correct. But those who say arrest, let's be careful. Somehow I get the impression that it's because those who say arrest seem to be loud. Maybe the police think arrest is popular. No, arrest is not popular among citizens. It's investigations we want. Look, Koku Anyidohu was said to have made sex statement. Where did it end? When they arrested him, Gestapo style, they went to search his home. Where did it end? Where did it end when Koku Anyidohu was arrested? So the police are about to suffer another heavy embarrassment. Don't use arrest. When they arrested Koku Anyidohu, took him to his house, took his phones, giddy. Where did it end? No, you don't do that. You learn from your mistakes. Be gentle in it. Go step by step. Learn from your mistakes. We are all citizens. We all make mistakes. Learn from your... Why did they... Anyidohu matters doesn't end? After all that he suffered in custody. So you take a citizen in, you deprive him of liberty, especially for a case where from the beginning, though we don't know what Oliver is holding, but please, using the norms of plausibility, Oliver is the last to lead a coup d'etat in Ghana. So you learn from it, then you say that, no, let me be cautious, let me be very circumspect, okay? Let me use the law well. So arrest is not your first option. I think the police are goofed, and we need to tell them. Okay. Yes, so there's the journalists, yes, they are all tied in, because you see, you know, now journalism is not only those of you who have been to journalism. Yes. We are all helping, because we're saying that if we don't speak up, it will eat all of us. The monster is coming, the kaka is coming. See how it's eating a few. If we don't stand up and show them that we are not scared, they will eat all of us up. You see? So the point is that journalists have a duty, Article 162, Clause 5, to hold government accountable. Citizens also have a duty to uphold the Constitution. That's Article 41. I think because time is going, we cannot read all. Yes, but Article 162, Clause 5, it says that journalists, the media, you should uphold government accountability. And naturally, in doing it, mistakes happen. Government, day in, day out, don't governments make mistakes? They are in office, don't they make mistakes? Do we go to arrest them straight away? When was the last time a minister was arrested for mistakes that he made? When was the last time we arrested a certain minister for mistakes that he made? A certain minister.
So are you...
So the point is that by all means, investigate. See, what we are not getting, there's no time, let's not mix this thing. I'm not here to defend erring journalists. No, I'm talking about the procedure. Don't just, you arrest him, throw him in custody, you even take him to court. or court grants him bail, then just because you think some of the masses like arrest, then you machinate to keep the person in custody, like Captain Smart's own. Court granted him bail before 11 o'clock. National security, they were pussyfooting. So then the court had to close. So then they kept him in custody till the next day. That is what we must speak up against. So please, let it not be lost. What we are saying is there are abuses. Oh, we want crimes investigated. I think that one there is no-brainer. If the police don't do their way, if they don't investigate crime and prosecute, there will be chaos. That's not what we are talking. So, you see, on occasion like this, when you spend time talking about the obvious, we lose all the time. We can't talk about the problem. So some people, they say, oh, but if not talked about reckless journalism. No, what we are saying is that what they've done is disproportionate. That's what we are addressing. We don't have 5 hours. If you were to say, Martin, we are going in the next 5 minutes. If you were to say, oh, Martin, you have 30 minutes. Then I could have started. Oh,
no problem at all.
You see?
I get you.
So please, especially, sometimes people, after we've left, people say, we didn't caution reckless journalism. No, that's not the matter right now. You can't deal with the two at the same time. There's been a disproportionate use of state power, okay? You arrest when it's not necessary, or court grants bail, then you involve in delay tactics to keep the person in custody. That's what we are addressing. By all means, reckless journalism, yes, let the system take its course. As Muhib mentioned, there is National Media Commission. And the National Media Commission has done a number of cases. You can go there. So now, do you see the situation we are left with? We repealed the criminal libel law, but we are back to square one. So it means the value is the same, because through Section 208, that's publication of false news, we are now arresting journalists willy-nilly. That's bad. It's a retrogression. Yes. Some of the arrests, let's be careful. We don't need arrests as the first thing, please. Investigations, yes, by all means. Oh, every case you want to investigate, why not? That's why the police are there. But when you start with arrests for a case that is going nowhere, it becomes a mockery. Then it becomes high-handedness. It becomes very overbearing. It's overbearingness that we need to speak up against. We will not take it. Then they will arrest all of us.
Okay.
Yes.
Point well made on that. Let me talk to Franklin. Kujo Franklin, I'm sure you've heard Lawyer Kwebu on this matter. He's broken things down a bit. You've also heard Muhib on this matter. You can wrap this up for me.
Oh, sure. And thanks to them for the wonderful submission. I think CDD, Imani, and Asila have also just issued a statement to the effect that we need to start asking questions whether we are gradually introducing in a subtle manner the criminal libel law. I think we need to ask ourselves that hard question. I think, as Martin has said, it appears as if the state is becoming too,
sensitive.
It's too sensitive. And and he makes a brilliant point about the issues that are generating these rather interesting statements that have become the subject of arrest. Is the issue of the issues around accountability and the fact that the state itself may be failing. But that's not a justification for making certain statements, by the way. I mean, we've stated in our statement that it is important that media people also make use of the RTI and ensure that they are quite careful in the statement they make. But as Martin suggests, it is disproportionate. The response is disproportionate, and I think the state should tone down a bit, because the more people feel that anytime somebody speaks, they get picked up, you might get to a situation where you'll be overwhelmed, really, because what people perceive in their thoughts are probably more dangerous than what they may expressly say, and that I think the state should be wary of. Otherwise, look, it could also be diversionary when the real issues that matter, the matters of state and the development of the country, the delivery of effective public services, should be respected or should be attended to. Yeah. So all I can say is that we should act cautiously and tread cautiously. Otherwise, the state itself might be seen to be too panicky, and that doesn't bode well for all of us.
All right. Thank you very much, Franklin Cudjoe, and thank you very much, Muhib Said, and also Martin Kwebu, for your thoughts on this